You are listening to a Pod Bros exclusive.
All right, boys and girls, we are back and live, brand new episode, Take Aim Outdoor Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brandon Hammonds, and excited to kind of spin out episode 93 with a longtime friend and previous guest, Tim Endsley from Livin, the brand. What's up, Tim?
Hey, man, what's up? Great to be back on.
Man, I was super stoked to talk to you, and I know we chatted last week about getting back on here and just enjoying the summer weather and excited to hear from you, see what you're up to.
Man, we've just been trying to get ready for fall mostly, just getting those mineral sites out in the spring and then fixing to start putting some cameras out and start getting some pictures of those big velvet deer, what we're looking for.
Now, I know that I kind of last week and the next week or two I had some stuff planned out for how to improve your summer scouting. So if you want to chat with me about that, Tim, let's go through a little bit about what you do in the summer and maybe try to learn one or two things from you that potentially, you do in the summer that maybe we're not doing or that somebody can pick up on and start doing the rest of the summer to kind of hone in on some big bucks.
Yeah, I mean, mostly I think it's just super, super important to get those mineral sites out early. I try to put mine out, during the spring, during turkey season. So if we're in Kansas or whatever up there turkey hunting, that's generally when I put my mineral sites out up there. And then same thing here at home on our property here at home. I put my mineral sites out during the spring. I normally don't put any cameras out till about now. But one of the key things I think a lot of people don't take into consideration on their mineral site, I think mineral sites are probably one of the most important things you can do. First of all, the minerals, putting the right minerals out will obviously help you have a healthier deer herd, but it not only helps you have a healthier deer herd, but it also will increase, antler growth. And right now, starting in springs when they start regrowing those antlers, and so that's when they really utilize those minerals to help you get more mass. It's kind of like women that take minerals, to help their hair be more healthy or their fingernails be more strong or more healthy. It's the same thing with deer. I mean, the more mineral we put out for them, the healthier they get, and potentially the more mass they put on. And I've noticed a huge difference over the years from, since we've started using mineral sites more and more over the past probably 10 years. We utilize them probably, I don't know, I think they're probably as important as anything we do is the mineral sites. But one of the things I think a lot of people don't do is you really want those mineral sites pretty close to water. A lot of people don't get them out close enough to water. I want mine within, I like to put my mineral sites at least within 100 yards of water. So whether it's a creek or a pond or somewhere, because the thing about minerals is all of them have some kind of a salt content to them, and it's going to make them thirsty. And, they need that water. They're going to stay on your mineral site, and they're going to continue to come to it more and more and more if they've got water readily available for them, so that as soon as they come hit that mineral site, they can go straight to get a drink of water and then go off to feed or come back to the mineral site or whatever. But I think water by your mineral sites are probably key to your success. I mean, that's been key to our success. So
I know that I talked about it last week a little bit, and that was actually one tip that I didn't say, Tim, so I'm glad that you picked up on that. But it's definitely important, and maybe I take it for granted because I have actually a really big river that runs through one of my pieces of property, and I have two, I call them big ponds, but they call them lakes, that, they're 20 acres or something like that. So the water is really available, but definitely, like you said, Tim, especially in a spot like Kansas, so important to get it close to that water somewhere.
Yeah, and if you you know, if you're in an area where maybe you don't have natural water source there somewhere, man, I've seen some guys do some pretty outrageous things, you know, to create water in their areas. I saw actually a video. I'm not sure who put it up, but it's on YouTube, and you can probably search for it on YouTube. But I saw some guys that were going to like the dollar store and buying those little kid swimming pools, like the little, you know, plastic swimming pools like we used to have when we were little kids. You know, you just fill them up with water, about 2 foot of water, and you just, you know, basically you can't do anything but splash around in them a little bit. But these guys are going to buy those for like, you know, $10, and they'll put them somewhere close to their mineral site, just dig a hole and bury them, and fill them up with water. And they've created their own water, their own basic water spot. Now, granted, they've got to go out there, you know, every so often and check the water levels, because if you're not getting very much rain or anything, you know, it's obviously not going to hold water forever. So, you know, looked like occasionally from their video, they were going out and just, you know, taking, you know, 5-gallon buckets of water out there and just dumping them in there and just keeping water fresh in there every week. So it gave those deer an opportunity to go to the mineral site and then go straight over to water. So those guys were really working on holding deer in their areas. And especially if you have a small place, if you have a small area where you're hunting, maybe you don't have water. And I have guys all the time tell me, oh man, I put minerals out on my place and the deer just don't go to them. Well, you know, in some places there's just so much natural mineral that the deer don't have to go search for them for mineral. But they don't have to look for it because they've got so much natural mineral in the soil already, or in the rocks, or just in the general terrain, and then they've got so much natural water around them. You know, they just don't have to travel to your spot to find mineral. But like around Kansas where we are, dude, that's where we set we don't really have a hit list. I'm not really a big hit list guy. I just like to know what deer are on the property and what deer made it through the gun season, and what deer moved in. And that way I kind of have an idea when one walks by me whether it's something I really want to drop the hammer on or not. But as far as that goes, if you can, with the mineral sites and the water and everything close, I think you can hold those deer on your property a lot better throughout the year, especially if the food source for those deer is on somebody else. You know, maybe the food source is on somebody else and they're not utilizing mineral on their food source. It's just strictly food. So they may be traveling from your food source, your mineral site to somebody else's food source, you know. So, and that's a little bit of what happens with us in Kansas. We have you know, property that borders us that it's got a lot of timber on it, and then we have the food source. So it's on part of our property, and so we put those mineral sites out, you know, just off the food source close to water. So we're actually drawing those deer off of that, you know. The surrounding properties are all coming to our spot, kind of hanging out there. But it's also helping the people that own the property behind us that are hunting there, because it's got those deer up moving, traveling, you know. So, you know, there's good and bad points to it as far as hunting goes. But if you have a small property where maybe you don't, you know, I know I've got a buddy, and well, you know him too, Sean Lutz up in Pennsylvania. I mean, he just has a real small property there that he hunts, like 5-6 acres. And, dude, he kills a giant off that property every year. I mean, a freaking giant up there every year. And he may get mad at me for saying that. But more and more people on his property now.
He might.
But he utilizes minerals. You know, during the year, you know, I mean, he utilizes minerals and you know, draws those deer to that spot and gets them used to coming in there looking for that mineral. But one of the other things is a lot of people leave them, you know, they count on those mineral sites too long. I freshen my mineral sites up. You know, I put them out in the spring. I freshen them up in July, and then that I won't freshen them up anymore, because after, you know, sometime around September, they're getting off those minerals. You know, they're leaving the minerals sometime around September, it seems like, every year. And you have less and less activity around your mineral site, and then you concentrate more and more. If it's legal in your state where you can have feeders, or I'm not a big feeder guy, I don't put feeders out, but it's legal in your state where you can bait, or where you have natural food sources like we do in Kansas. We have a lot of natural food source. Then I go away from that mineral site as much and start concentrating more on food.
Now, I know that a lot of it's dependent on where you hunt, Tim, but one of the big reasons I really like minerals is, I'm kind of like you. I'm hunting mostly the Midwest, so we don't get a lot of those like high vantage points where we can do a lot of that summer scouting from afar and glass from the vehicle like they get to do out west. So,
right on.
And another thing is my farmers want that land space for their crops. So I'm not getting a lot of that opportunity to do food plots either. So minerals are really, really big to me, but, it's something I love to do because there's lots of things to learn from it. And once you get good at it, it's just such a no-brainer. And like you said, health-wise, it's so important for the deer. But is there anything you do, Tim, that maybe I'm not doing to establish or start up a mineral site? I'd like you to just for a minute walk us through your steps just to start a mineral site, a brand new one. And like I said, maybe I can learn something, and everybody else that you're doing maybe that I'm not doing, so to speak.
Well, I'm pretty simple pretty basic with mine. I just carry a little rake out there with me, and once I find a spot that I'm going to establish a mineral site, I generally just take that rake and just rake up the ground and get the soil pretty loose right there and get all the leaves or sticks or anything out of the way. Just kind of make it look like a kind of a big scrape, and then I just pour my mineral in it. So the mineral that I've been using for about the last 3 years, I've been using Big and J's Meltdown and Legit, and I have different spots where I put either or. So I've got some spots that I've got Meltdown out. I've got some spots where I've got Legit out. But as far as that goes, it doesn't really matter. It's more curiosity for me to see which ones they hit the most, and it seems like they hit them pretty regular, either one. But as far as any special preparation, I don't do a ton of special preparation other than just making sure the ground's clear, and I want it pretty close to where I know deer are traveling already. I've got what I used to do is whenever I used to use like just regular mineral blocks, like you used to, you just go buy Tractor Supply or whatever, like for cattle or horses. I used to take post hole diggers out and just like find a spot, and I'd just dig a hole that was just big enough for that mineral block to set down in. Now these are, big mineral blocks, big full size mineral blocks. And I'd dig that hole and I'd stick it down in the ground, and I'd just basically just lightly cover the top of it up with dirt and just let that mineral dissolve into the ground, because it'll dissolve a lot faster in the ground that way. And shoot, you come back and they've got huge holes dug around it. Another thing is if I've got a really good spot and there's like where somebody's cut a tree or no stump or just anything, just to know, a stump's probably better than anything. If I can find like an older stump that's just in the ground right there, I'll take that Meltdown, and I don't know if you're familiar with the Meltdown, but you mix it with water in the bag, it has a reaction where it gets really, really hot, and the granules inside there turn to liquid. And then when the granules inside there turn to liquid, then you just pour it out on the ground. Well, a lot of times I'll take that Meltdown and I'll just pour it out over a stump, just clear the debris out from around that stump, and I'll pour it right on the stump. I've got a couple of stumps there around our place here in Arkansas that, man, they've dug them out. It looks like somebody's been digging around them with a damn shovel. They just keep digging, and you come back and they're they pulled the bark off the stump, and they started actually eating the stump. So those seem to be pretty good mineral sites as well. Yeah,
it is. I have yet to use the Meltdown just because a couple of the stores around me just don't carry it, sadly. But it seems like a really good product. I like the ingredients that's in it, and I like the idea behind it. And I think for the future, some of my mineral sites on some of the properties that I have already really established, I'm going to start really trying to use that meltdown as a, like you said, you know, to refresh it every month or every 2 months, because it just seems like it's perfect product for that.
Well, what I like about it is it's got an attractant in it, so it's actually got a smell. So the deer start smelling it, you know, pretty fast. So they start looking for it. You know, that's the thing with a lot of mineral is, you know, you just put out basic minerals and maybe they don't have any kind of an attractant to them, and you know, it takes them a little longer to establish those sites. With the meltdown product, I'll tell you what I found is I gave a couple bags to a buddy of mine for his property here last year. He's never used minerals. I gave him a couple bags last year to use on his property. I said, man, just go put it out. You know, it was after spring. I said, just go put it out and make sure you're close to water. And he didn't really know the concept of minerals, so of establishing a mineral site. So he actually made a mineral site and then went like 400 yards from there and made another one. And it was the middle of the day. He said it was, you know, probably 90 degrees in the middle of the day, and he went out there and put that mineral site out, and it was by a creek, and he went 500 yards and found another spot. And he says probably an hour later, you know, by the time he came back through, and he said when he came back through, he ran deer off the first mineral site that he had just put out.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's super cool. That's a sign of a good product.
Well, and you know, and I think that's key is to get it, you know, get those spots established fast, you know, and get them coming to them. I mean, I don't know how many pictures I've got on my computer from last year that are just strictly on our mineral sites. I've probably got, I don't know, just from last year, there's probably 500 or 600 game camera pictures just from Kansas, from 3 mineral sites. 500 or 600 pictures that were just from there. Now we that's not including all the ones, you know, that we deleted just from, you know, that were just does and fawns and, you know, coyotes, possums and coons and whatever else came through. But just the buck pictures, there were probably, I know there were over 600 pictures just from last year from 3 mineral sites. And the thing
I believe it.
Those bucks were coming to that mineral site every day, sometimes twice a day. So, you know, we were having bucks coming to them in the afternoon before they were going out to feed, because we were literally 50 yards from water and 50 yards from a bean field. So they were coming through there. They could hit the mineral spot on their way through. They could hit water, and then they could hit the beans, all on, you know, in one little straight line. And that's how we had it set up on all our spots, where it was the mineral spot, it was water, then it was the food source. And dude, they were hitting it every afternoon and every morning. The same deer were coming straight back to that mineral spot. We were getting pictures every morning, you know, right at daylight. Every afternoon, just before dark, they were all there, and one at a time, here they'd come. You know, so yeah, I just think minerals are just so important to your preparation, and two, you know, I mean, the more time you put into it, the more successful you're going to be. You know how it is, and it's like anything else in life. You know, the more you put in it, the more you get out of it. So, you know, taking the time to go do those mineral spots, it literally, you know, we can do all our, you know, we do all our mineral spots in Kansas in a day. We just go up there and we just say, okay, you know, we turkey hunt in the mornings, and then we just decide, you know, middle of the day we're going to go put mineral spots out, and that's what we do. And so we're done usually in a day. It doesn't take that much time. So and once you get them established, you just go right back to those same spots every time, because they're just, even after the minerals are gone. I mean, I saw this year before we even put fresh minerals out, there were already deer coming back to those spots and had already been digging from the minerals that we put out last July. So that spot's established now as a mineral site.
Yep,
so,
for sure. That is neat, and you probably feel like this too, Tim. It does take that effort and that work, because it's kind of like scouting for a tree stand, I should say. You're looking for a great spot for that mineral and your camera, and sometimes an area that the deer feel safe. They're out of line from a road, and
absolutely,
you put all that in, and then once you get it going, I'm like you. I want to know what's there. So to me, it's really important, just management-wise, knowing every deer that's on the farm. But once it gets going and you get in the groove, Tim, it's almost like you're cheating, because it's just like, oh my gosh, every deer around is on my camera, and you just have such a big confidence boost on knowing that piece of ground. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's it's just like you said. I mean, it is almost like cheating sometimes, but it's I don't know. You did touch on a subject that I probably didn't mention. I should. One of the things I do with my mineral sites is, man, especially in Kansas where we're not there, I want those mineral sites in a place where those deer feel comfortable. So I want them to feel like, they can use out there and get on that mineral. I very rarely put mineral sites out where they're in the open, I want them kind of on a, close to a heavy trail or a little funnel spot where there's water and everything, obviously. And, but another thing that'll help, and I know this kind of sounds weird, but I don't put my mineral sites out where they can be seen from the road. There's a lot of poachers, that cruise around up there where we hunt, and we're not there all the time. And same thing here in Arkansas. You're just better off if you can put those mineral sites back off into the woods somewhere where they can't be seen from the road, because I don't even want someone to be put in a position where they feel like they might actually poach. Maybe they're not a poacher. Maybe they wouldn't shoot my deer from the truck, but from the road. But I don't want anybody to even be put in that position. So, I'd rather be going out there and checking my game cameras and not being able to, sit there and glass my mineral sites from the road, or have anybody else glass my mineral sites from the road. So.
No, I hear you. And I think right away the deer know that there's a big difference between one out in the middle of the field by a road and one that's kind of tucked away somewhere. The deer just are way more natural coming into that mineral site, and way more natural, in and around that trail camera. So that's a big help. But so I know.
And another thing, another tip for small properties, if you've got a small property, say you don't have, you've got a little 20-acre property or something that you're getting to hunt, establish that mineral site if you can as close to the middle of that property as you can. It just seems like if it's closer to the middle of the property, it seems like you'll draw deer from more areas. It just seems like you'll draw deer from all the way around you a little more. That's one thing I do is I try to like the farms that we hunt in Kansas they're all small farms. So we don't have any huge farms up there. I mean, the majority of the biggest farm that we hunt up there is like 320 acres, and the rest of our farms are all 100 acres, 40 acres, 40 acres, 50 acres, whatever. And we establish those mineral sites in the center, as close to the center of those farms as we can, because we're drawing those deer from all the way around us onto that property. And a lot of times they'll stay, they'll just hang out there. It's just kind of turns into their natural travel pattern.
Yeah, that's one thing I especially like about doing that is it gives you opportunity to maybe pull deer from your neighbors or a piece of ground that it doesn't have the food to cover. And once the deer come over onto your property, they find that cover, they find that food, and they kind of just make a lifestyle change. And if you're into deer hunting, that's what you want. You're trying to set up a piece of property that the deer are basically going to live on. So yeah, I'm with you 100% on that, Tim.
Yeah, exactly. That's mineral sites are by far, I think, one of our best tools to help not only grow deer on our property, but to keep our herds healthy, and to also know what deer are on our property, so that we're out there first of the season, and now I've got buddies that they say I don't put game cameras out because I don't want to know what's there, because then I end up passing on deer all year, and then at the end of the year I don't get to shoot one, and because I'm chasing this one particular deer all year, and I rack it up to this, man. That's bow hunting. I mean, if you're going to commit to the bow, which is what I do during deer season, I can't remember the last time I actually killed a deer with a gun. It's probably been 20 years. But if you're going to commit to the bow, I mean, that's one of the things you're just going to have to live with, is that, with the bow, if you're going to try to manage a property, we don't have stipulations on what we kill on our property in Kansas. We're not an outfitter. It's just me and a couple of my buddies that go together, and we're not rich guys, and we just lease enough land that we've got to hunt. And we don't put any stipulations on what we kill. I mean, I don't care if one of my buddies shoots a 120-inch deer on the property. I mean, I'm just as happy for him if he shoots a 180-inch deer. I mean, we don't put stipulations on it. Just so long as you're happy with it, I'm happy for you. So I think establishing those mineral sites, though, for me, is something that I can look and go, when a deer comes through a certain area, I go, I remember that deer. He's this, and maybe he fits the criteria of what I call a shooter buck. And if he is, then I'm gonna let him have it. I've been stuck a few years where I've got on one particular deer and hunted for. I know you saw the November film about me trying to kill that one buck for 21 days, and I never saw him again after like the third day, and I spent 21 days trying to shoot him and never even saw him again. And I ended up killing a really nice other buck, but it is what it is. I was super happy with the buck I killed. I was disappointed that I never saw the other deer again, but I was super stoked about the one I killed. I mean, I'm not one of those guys that names my deer. I'm just like, hey, that's a good 10 point, and if he's there next year, I'm happy to see him, but I don't name him Bob or Jeff or Jimbo or Tom or nothing. I just don't. And I'm always happy with what I end up with, and and I make those decisions on what I'm going to shoot when they come by me, if you know what I mean.
No, I know exactly what you mean. I think it's it's good to hear that stuff, and it's good to hear that you guys have a system that isn't always about the numbers, and that's refreshing to hear. I mean, that's a whole nother podcast. We'll get into that debate of of this
are the numbers
game of
killing
inches.
the hunt?
yeah, that's a whole different thing. But I mean, it's for real, super refreshing to hear that you guys have that system, and that's what it should be. It's fun to do what you want to do, and to me, and it's okay. It's just be happy.
Right.
If you want to shoot a 7-year-old buck that's actually a 6-pointer and scores 120, I think it's phenomenal. So I think that's a lot of stuff people need to remember is, doing the right thing and doing what makes you happy.
Yeah, and that's the key to it, man. I mean, I think one of the things that I think, and I don't lightly want to touch on this. I don't want to step on anybody's toes or anything, but you've known me for a pretty good while, and I just kind of accidentally fell into this industry. I wasn't looking to get into this industry. I just kind of fell into it. I'm super, super excited, that I have the opportunities that I have to be in this industry. But I didn't come into this industry looking for sponsors or to make money I got into this industry because I freaking love to hunt, and I just wanted to be around more people that I could just absorb from them like a sponge, and so I try to basically, be around the people that I feel like have kind of the same, I guess, I don't want to call it ethics really, but I guess it would be kind of the same feelings about hunting that I do. And to me, it's, I don't go out and film and write articles and all this stuff for any kind of fame or glory or definitely not money, because Lord knows that's one of the things about the outdoor industry. There's not a lot of people making a ton of money. There's a few that are, but the rest of us are, one of the things that's really hard to do is in this industry is, I guess, not lose sight of what got you in it anyway, why you gravitated toward this industry to start with. So, it's pretty hard because I love to film now. I didn't know that I would really get into filming and that I would have the opportunity to go film for, Flex Tone and, Wild Game Nation and different places like that I've had an opportunity to go film, actually be the videographer on those hunts. I didn't know that that's where I was headed. I had no idea that that's the goal that I was headed to. I just wanted to do something cool and film, and I was interested in production, but never, the one thing I don't want to do is I don't want the fact that I've got the camera to cheapen my experience, if you know what I mean, so whether I've got a cameraman with me or whether I'm self-filming, to me, it's still all about the experience. It's still all about the hunt, man. I mean, if I set 5 days and don't kill anything, like we did last year, in Nebraska. I don't know if you watched the Nebraska episode of Livin the Brand, where I missed that 150 on the last afternoon twice with my bow. Did you see it, Brandon?
Yeah, I saw it, and I felt for you, for sure.
Yeah, and it was,
But that's bow hunting, but, I mean, I still felt for you.
That was 5 days there. I'd already been there for 6 days before. So basically, we ended up 11, 12 days there on public land in Nebraska. And, finally the last afternoon I got an opportunity to shoot a really nice buck. And I was pretty excited when he came out. Now, why did I miss? Dude, I have no idea. But, I still to this day watch that footage and I'm like, I missed the second shot. I missed to the right. The first shot, I just ranged that buck, and the only thing I can figure is that I ranged him. By the time I got my release hooked on, he was still walking, and he kind of started veering away from me. And I think where I ranged him at 36 yards right there, I think he was actually probably at 40 by the time I got my pin on him. And if I miss, I haven't missed a deer in a long time, but I have a tendency to hold low because of target panic from years back, and I think that's what I did. I think he had just moved out to about 40, and I just held low, and I missed. I mean, I just flat missed. And was I disappointed? Man, I was totally disappointed, and I was disappointed for me. I was disappointed for my cameraman that had been there with me for all those days, and we finally get a shot, and I just didn't. I just didn't connect. But like you said, that's hunting. I mean, that's all part of the experience. Am I going to, that's why we put that on the video. I wanted people to see it. I mean, it's not all. We don't go out and sit in a tree stand and a giant buck walks by and we smack him every time they go out. I mean, sometimes we miss. Sometimes we sit for 12 days and never see nothing. We don't see anything even bigger than a fork horn. That's how we did in Nebraska. We sat there for basically 11 days and saw, we never saw anything big enough to shoot. And then the last day for me to blow it, it just kind of blew my mind. But, I didn't let it define me. It's who I am. I just took it all over as the experience of the hunt. It was a lot of fun, and hunting public land that you can walk on for giant whitetails that anybody can hunt. I mean, anybody can hunt. It's an over-the-counter tag. If you can find the spots, there's a jillion walk-in, bow hunting only farms that are basically like block management areas like they have out west. And there's a bunch of them in Nebraska. And excuse me, anybody can just walk on there and hunt it. Buy a tag over the counter and find you a spot, go scout it, and get after it. And that's what we did. And I thought, to me, the whole testament of the hunt was the fact that I was on property that anybody could go on. I had never been on that property before in my life before we got up there. And I had an opportunity to 150-inch deer. I mean, that was the cool part of the hunt for me.
Yeah, that is exciting. It's one of the things we love, about being a bow hunter. We know it's pretty much 90% failure, but even the failures many times have some sort of success. And what you just said resonates with, first time on a piece of ground, figuring out. I mean, you did that. That's a victory. That is totally a victory. And even though, you didn't punch a tag, doesn't take away from, what you accomplished. And it's neat just to figure out a piece of property and figure out what the deer are doing. I mean, that is a lot of the battle.
Yeah, and that's one of the best parts of hunting for me. I mean, excuse me, I always say that, the hunt's actually the best part of it, and the kill's just actually the buzzer at the end of the game. So, if you you're playing the game the whole time, and then one walks by you that gets your heart racing and your blood pumping, and you put one right through the Boilermaker and you watch him run over in the woods and crash. That's like it's like hitting that 3-pointer at the buzzer, to win the game. Game's over. The buzzer just went off. It's high five. Everything's good. And then the game's over at that point.
That's right.
It's just like the 3-pointer. I mean, you're excited for those moments, that you're taking all the grip and grin pictures, and, you're all excited, and you're cleaning your buck, and you're getting ready to take him to the taxidermist or whatever you're going to do, and you're all excited about it. But the next day, if you're fortunate enough to have another place to go, a new game starts. You know what I mean? So that's what's exciting.
Oh, absolutely. That's the best part.
All of it
really is.
Yeah, all the chase is the best part. The kill is the culmination of all that work, and it's the end of that game. So, for us, being fortunate enough to be able to hunt in Kansas and Arkansas, and now, we hunt a lot of public land wherever we can get film permits. A lot of places, won't give you a film permit to hunt public land. Nebraska's not one of those places. They're super great to deal with. But Arkansas will give you, Arkansas's got great public land here. A lot of people don't realize. I mean, there's certain spots in our state where all our public land is bow hunting only here. I mean, it's bow hunting only from September 24th through February 28th. It's bow hunting only on public land. And we have, I'm not sure how many thousands of acres of public land we have here, but we have a lot. And it doesn't get super utilized because people just have this stigma about public land that, I'm just not going to go hunt public land. It's just too hard, and you have to take too much time to scout it. It's not hard to scout. I use Onyx Maps completely. I used to use Google Earth all the time to scout public land, but now I use Onyx Maps just because I can get all that on my phone, and I can have it with me while I'm cruising up to those spots. And the thing about Onyx Maps is, where it's way better than Google Earth or any other system out there, is they actually have all the public land actually pops up on your phone or on your app or on your computer, and all the public land is marked in different colors. So your WMAs are in green, so BMA land is in yellow, other spots are in blue. So it shows you all the public land. In fact, the spot where I missed that buck in Nebraska last year was not even on the map that we got from the Game and Fish. It wasn't marked on the map as far as a public land spot. But it kept popping up on my Onyx Maps on my phone app. And so I told the first time we went down there, my buddy Tully Jansen from Texas was up there with me. And I said, man, let's go look at this spot because it's not on the map. but it's popping up on OnX. So we drove over there. We were only about 5 miles from there anyway, so we drove over there, and damn if there weren't the signs. I mean, the signs were up on the property. It's, you know, public access, walk-in only, bow hunting, right there on all 4 corners of the property. And I said, this looks great. We should hang a stand in here. So we did, but the wind was just terrible for that spot the whole time we were there, and we never did hunt it till that last afternoon. So, but we found it. If we hadn't had OnX, we'd have never found it because it wasn't on the state map. In fact, we found out later there were a lot of places that weren't on the state booklet that we got just because it hadn't been updated in like 2 years.
That's crazy, and that's a really good tip. I know that you really like that OnX stuff. I definitely need to get on board with it and maybe get somebody from OnX to be on the podcast to kind of go over how the whole system works.
Well, let me tell you who you need to talk to. You need to talk to Ed Gramza. Ed Gramza is the pro staff coordinator, and he's in your country. I mean, he's from up there in where you live, and I'll get you hooked up with Ed. But Ed definitely can tell you all the ins and outs of how it works. All I can tell you is how to use the app. But one of the things that is done for me is it has really broadened the scope of the areas where I can hunt because, you know, I do a lot of, you know, we do a lot of seminars and crap, you know, around for different organizations and for Bass Pro. And one of the things I get asked all the time is, you guys, you know, you hunt all this private property and this, that, and other. And yeah, man, we hunt. I have a place in Kansas that I hunt. Absolutely. It's not very big. It's just our small little spot that we have leased. Just like anybody else can go up there and find somewhere to lease. Anybody can do it. Same thing here in Arkansas. We have 1,000 acres that 4 of us hunt here in Arkansas. And it's, you know, it's great property. It's ours, and it's been in my wife's family. We don't own it, we lease it, but my wife's family has hunted that place for 54 years now. So it's more or less a tradition there. But guys say, oh, I can't afford to go off to these other states and hunt, you know, and pay $3,500 or $4,500 to an outfitter. Well, guess what? You don't have to. I mean, download the app for free. Pick out what states you want to go to. Purchase that premium map for your phone app, or even just call and get the chip for your Garmin GPS or that'll work also on your computer. Dude, you can literally hunt most states. 2 guys can hunt for under generally $1,000. You can go on a 5-day hunt if you want to do it yourself. Public land hunting, tags, you know, travel and all, depending on where it was. I think we figured up for 2 of us to hunt Nebraska for 12 days. For 12 days, we had probably about $1,600 in that whole trip. Now, that was 12 days. That was 2 separate trips up there because the first time we went way too early. But, you know, for about $1,000, 2 guys could go up there and stay in the campground and hunt. You know, take a camper, take a tent, whatever you want to do. And you have unlimited amount of public access hunting. And we literally saw 2 other hunters the whole time we were there.
Yeah, that's crazy, and a crazy good price. And, I mean, very affordable to hunt like that. Absolutely. And, yeah, definitely. I definitely need to get somebody. Ed, is that who you said, Tim?
Yep. I'll get you. I'll get Ed to give you a shout because Ed's a great dude, and he can tell you all the ins and outs of how it all works. I've been with him for. I've been using OnX Maps for probably, man, it's probably 5 years now, 4 years, as long as they've been around. But now they're all over the Midwest. They've got maps for all over the Midwest. Like this year, we're planning a trip to South Dakota. Public land, and I've never been to South Dakota in my life, you know, as far as hunting. I mean, I've been in South Dakota back in my rodeo days, but I've never been there to hunt, and we're planning the whole trip on OnX Maps, the whole thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's, you know, I mean, that does a lot for you. It takes a lot of insecurities away. It gives you a game plan. I mean, everything about it sounds like a super, super good tool. So we'll definitely get somebody on. Maybe we'll have you on too with that, Tim, just because you're a user of it, and then hopefully I'll end up getting the app, and so I can, kind of relate to some of the stuff before the podcast. But before we go, Tim, sadly I'm running out of time. We're at like 55 minutes. But what do you got going on right now? And is there a place you want everybody to kind of reach out and find you?
Yeah, if we're producing the Badlands Packs Livin the Brand series. If you want to go to Badlands Packs on YouTube, go to Badlands Signature Series, and you'll find Livin the Brand. All the episodes are on there. Plus, we're also on Carbon TV. So you can go to Carbon TV, click on the hunting channels, and scroll through till you find us. There's a lot of cool hunting shows on Carbon TV now. I know the Team Tag and Brag guys are on there, Outback Outdoors. There's just a lot of cool stuff on there. I know Daniel Lee Martin and Jules McQueen have their new show that's going to be on there. Philip Vanderpool. There's a ton of stuff on Carbon TV. And they're really doing a lot of stuff to promote the hunting industry and the hunting world. But yeah, that's where we are. Plus, you can look for some different articles at onyxmaps.com. And you can look for some different articles coming out in the future on gohunt.com. So a lot of stuff's just been real busy. We're trying to get some bow fishing in this summer, but the water's just been so bad. I mean, we love to bow fish, but the water levels have just been so freaking high that it's just been miserable. So hoping we get to do some of that before too long.
Well, hopefully, and I hope everybody checks out what Tim just said, where to find them, and keep up with Livin the Brand. And Tim, man, thanks for being on today, and thanks for sharing some summer scouting tips with us as well.
You bet. Thanks, Brandon.
No problem, man. And everybody, that you can find us live on iTunes every Tuesday, Stitcher, TuneIn, podbros.com, and Outdoor Podcast channel. And please give us a review on iTunes. Just take 1 second, leave us a review, and we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully we'll be talking with Tim again in Onyx, and we'll get the down low on that. But Tim, take care, and thanks again.
You bet, brother. See ya.